Imagine yourself trapped on the first floor of a tiny 3D mall. You're starving, but the food court is on the second floor. What will you do? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Derek Elliott from Dirt.com, and I need an escalator for an animation I'm trying to do. So I figured I'd make one. I tried a couple methods, and like with anything in Blender, there's multiple ways you could do it, but I found this one. And, honestly, I thought it worked pretty good. So thought I'd record a short tutorial showing you how to do it. So let's do it. I'm going to hold on to my default cube here, but I'm going to use it to basically build a step. So in edit mode, I'm going to scale it out on the y-axis a little bit. Maybe something like that. And I'm holding control to snap to increments, and staying, for this method that I'm going to show you, keeping everything to nice increments really does help you a lot. So yeah, try to do that if you can. Okay, so that's pretty much one step right there. Now I am going to just add a little bit of detail of this, and you'll see, so escalators have this little curve on the front, and actually, I kind of knew why, but when I was doing this animation, I could really see, exactly the reason for that. So we're gonna actually recreate that because it does add just a little bit of detail that's nice to have. So I'm just pressing Control R, adding a few edge loops, and then I'm just gonna manually kind of move these points. You could do proportional editing and stuff like that, but I'm just going to do it this way because it's only going to be a few points, and I think this will work just fine. And I'm pressing C to a circle select, which is my favorite method. Okay, so we got that little curve thing on the front. Now to give this a little more detail, let's also add a bevel modifier, just to kind of break those edges, make it a little more realistic. This is really going to have a pretty low poly look, but that bevel really helps out a lot, especially where the steps come together. It can kind of help differentiate them. Now in wireframe view, I can see I'm getting extra geometry here from the bevel, so I'm going to just change this limit method to angle, and then that means only angles greater than that will get the bevel, which in this case I'm looking for basically these 90-degree angles. So 30 covers us good. We could even bump this up a little bit, but I want that one down there too. Okay, so we got that looking cool. Now we basically need to just create some duplicates of this now. So I'm going to do that with an array modifier. So I add modifier array, and I don't want to use the relative offset. What that does is offset relative to the size of the object. So I'm going to use constant offset, and with an escalator, we know this needs to go forward and down. So let's move that out. I'm going to go into my side view so I can see a little better what's going on. Let's move it one unit down, and again, this is a good reason to kind of stay constrained to your grid here. You don't have to, but it just makes things a little easier. So, and then we need to move this over. I'm just going to go about 1.5 units. So we've got a little bit of an overlap there. And now you can basically decide how big you want your escalator to be. I think for me, I'm just clicking and dragging to bring up this count. I think something like, 12. That looks good to me. Now, basically I have all the steps. So what I want to do next is I want to animate it. So we basically need to animate this step moving into this position. So I'm going to hang out here on frame 1. Let's move this up a little bit just so we can kind of see better. So on frame 1, I'm cool with it right there. Let's go up here. So I pressed N to bring up the sidebar. So I want to move this, I know it needs to go down and over. So that's my X location and my Z location. So on frame 1, let's go ahead and say insert keyframes for the X location and the Z location. And then I think over the course of maybe 18 frames or so, I want this to go down 1 unit. So I'll insert a single keyframe and then over 1.5 units. So this is another reason why having the kind of constrained values are good, because we're basically just doing what the array is, so we know what those values are. So like I said, that needs to go over 1.5. So let's insert a single keyframe on that same 18th frame. Okay, so now when I press, let's drag this down just a little bit. So now when I press spacebar, I'm going to right click at this point here to we can kind of see the animation effect we're going for. Basically, like when it resets, it gives the illusion that you have the same step, or like that, like the steps are continuous. But being able to see the end obviously really messes that up. So let's do, for one, if we move over here into our curves, obviously I'm not going to be able to right click to keep doing this, and we don't want to insert a ton of keyframes. So we're going to actually do something in the graph editor to duplicate that motion. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to drag another window over, just clicking in that corner. I'm going to change this to a graph editor. And so a couple things here. For one, I don't want this easing going on. That's kind of what this curve is. But I want it to be at a more constant rate. So what I'm going to do is change this to linear. I'm just pressing T to do that. So now it has a little bit more of a mechanical move to it, if you will. So now what did I say I was going to do next? I need to repeat it. So I'm going to click on this X location, press N to bring up my sidebar. And then in modifiers, I'm going to add a cycles modifier. And that's just going to repeat that motion. But you can see it's only repeating the X. So we need to do the same thing on the Z. But instead of doing that same process, what we can do is just press this little clipboard button to copy the modifier. And then on the Z, I'll paste it. And now you can see we're getting that same animation repeated over and over. So we basically need to fill in, the steps so that we, we'll put kind of a little floor at the top and the bottom to cover up, the repeat, but we do need a couple flat steps to kind of help sell this effect. So I'm going to get rid of this graph editor here. Now what I want to do is I want to duplicate this object, this step object. So I'm going to press Shift D, and then for one, I can get rid of this array modifier. We'll hold on to the bevel though, so that the step looks the same, obviously. And then I need to, okay, so this actually, when I press Shift D, it took the animation with it too. So let's just go to frame 1 here where it's all evened up, and let's clear keyframes. And okay, so that left them on the other object, but got rid of them on this object. Okay, that's perfect. So back at frame 1, okay, so let's actually, so at frame, let's see, what is it, frame 18? Yeah, so frame 18, we want that top step to be where the first step was to kind of like fill its place. So same thing, except this time we only need to animate the X location. So I'm going to insert a single keyframe there. So on frame 18, it ends up, right where it's supposed to be. And then on frame 1, we'll slide it over a little bit. And so you kind of think it'd be 1.5, since that's what our offset was. But in this case, it'll be 2 because, there's no overlap here. So I'm going to insert a single keyframe right here. And then it's not lining up because it's got that same effect going on. So let's change this back to graph editor and press T to change that to linear. So now we're getting pretty much what we want. And then of course we need to duplicate it. So let's do the same thing in our modifiers. Select that. Modifiers, and should still be copied. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we just pasted it. Cool stuff. And you can see this is why there's that little curve. So you could go back in there and edit it if you wanted to. But that's why that, if that curve wasn't there, then there'd be even more overlap. So I didn't get it quite right, but I'm not too worried about that for now. You're depending on how realistic you want this to look, you might want to go back and edit that. You can add as much detail as you want, really. The only thing though, I'll make a note now, the reason this works is because all these steps are exactly the same. So if you were going to have like a, you know, a really grungy texture or something that wasn't the same on every single step, this effect wouldn't work quite as well. But in this case, you know, I'm going for kind of a low poly look. So that's good. But we need to do the same thing at the bottom, and we need a few more steps at the top. So what I'm going to do actually is just, since it would have the same motion of just moving in the X, what I can do is just keep it all in the same object. So I'm going to press A to select everything, Shift D to duplicate it, and then just drag that over 2 units. And then let's do another one for good measure. And then at the bottom, we're going to have the same thing. So I'm going to press Shift D, drag this down there, and then let's make sure this gets into position properly. So that would end up right there. Okay, so let's move this down to the proper location. There, nice. And you can kind of see how it's duplicating itself there. So that still has the same animation. We don't have to do anything again there. And yeah, now we've got basically our effect is done. So let's just, we can get rid of this. Let's just add, let's just kind of build out the rest of this real quick. If you were mostly curious about the animation part, pretty much done with that, but stick around and we'll do just a little bit more modeling, maybe some lighting, and kind of try to tidy this thing up, make it ready to go. So I'm going to add a plane. I'm going to make kind of my railings first. So then edit mode, I'm going to press RX90 to rotate that up. And then in edit mode still, I'm going to drag that over. The reason I'm staying in edit mode is because I want my origin point to stay right there in the middle. Because now I can add a mirror modifier and put it on the y-axis mirror. Now it mirrors nicely onto the other side. So let's just drag this up. Let's just leave that there for now. And now I want to make those big kind of turnstile handrail things on the top and the bottom. So I'm gonna let's just snap my cursor to my selection there, and then I'm gonna add a circle, and you know, do as many vertices as you want here. But 24, I think I'll kind of keep with my low poly style here. So I'm gonna press RX90, and then scale this up by maybe 2.5. Does that look good? I think that looks good. And then I'm gonna move this over just to kind of where I would want that to start, maybe like right there. And now what I'm going to do is select this other half, duplicate it, and then put it somewhere down here, kind of where I'd want that to start or finish, whatever, whichever way you're looking at it. So got my semicircle there. Let's make this one a semicircle as well. Delete those vertices, and then circle select this, press F. Circle select this, press F. And it's probably honestly going to be easy just to get rid of this. Kind of change my mind in the middle of it there. So let's move this over till kind of right where it starts to go down. Let's do the same thing on this side. I guess right about, yeah, probably like right there. Maybe right there. I guess, I don't know, and you can move these around if you kind of change your mind, but I think that looks fine. So then I'm just going to select those two, press F to fill it, and maybe we better even this up. I think that would look a little bit better. Let's drag this whole, oops, no, not that. I want to drag just this face out. Something like that. Oh yeah, it's because I had, wait, are there 4? There's 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom. Okay, whatever. I think that looks good. Maybe that. There we go. Okay, I'll stop messing with that. Mess with it as long as you want to get it looking good. Okay, so now we're gonna use the same object to just create a few more pieces. But those pieces will all have a couple modifiers. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those. For one is the solidify modifier. I'm going to use that a couple times here. And now let's change this offset to 0 so that it kind of goes from the middle. Everything will be nice and aligned that way. Okay, so that's about the thickness I'll want the handrail. Yeah, something like that. And then in edit mode, I'm pressing Alt-Z to go into that kind of X-ray mode. I'm going to press I to inset. And then this is going to be basically what would be like glass, you know, something like that. And then let's make this like the metal piece. Oops, do a little subdivide. Okay, so we got that inset. So let's say that would be a metal piece. So let's press P to separate that by selection. Okay, so now the handrail is its own piece, and then we have the middle part as its own piece. Okay, so that would be the metal, which would be just a little bit narrower. So let's like drag that in, and I think if we turn on, I always forget to turn this on in Blender 2.8, we have these really nice effects here. So I can kind of increase this. There, now it's a little easier to see those edges. Okay, so we've got, yeah, so that would be a little bit thinner. Let's go back into edit mode here. Let's inset again, and this will have this be the glass. Okay, and then let's separate that by selection. And then, okay, so we've got this. So this is the, so this is the metal part. This is the glass, and the glass obviously would be pretty thin, so we can go back into our solidify, move that in. Just trying to get a feel for how thick this is here. Yeah, so the glass would be pretty thin. And you know, maybe we want a little bit of an offset with the glass, so let's just, in this glass object, let's just do inset again. And then I'm gonna Alt and left click that edge and delete those faces, and that'll just create a nice little gap for us there. I think that looks cool. So let's save our file. You can see I've got a couple attempts here. I'll save that one. Okay, so let's play. Looking pretty cool. Now we just need to kind of fill in those edges. So let's go into and we're not going to animate this handrail because, you know, technically it would be so like consistent you wouldn't really be able to tell. It would be more work, and I think this tutorial is long enough. So I'm going to press tab to go into this object, and then I want to select a couple pieces here. So let's do, in face select mode, let's select this piece, and this piece. Let's Shift D to duplicate it, P to separate by selection, and then with that object selected, what do I want to do? I want to select this bottom edge here, and then maybe move that kind of just down, something like that. And then we can do this again just with the solidify. Really makes things pretty easy. Just move that out a little bit to kind of create those nice edges. And then let's maybe bring this edge up just a little bit so it kind of has that nice, kind of has like that, you know how it usually kind of pinches it right there so it goes in. We're not going to do the cutout because again, this is pretty low detail, but we got a pretty cool looking escalator model there. Maybe for the glass, we want to add a couple like panes here. So let's, I'm just pressing Control R to do a, you know, to cut it a little. Let's just do like that. Yeah, I guess just 3 panes. That should look decent. So now I can, to cut those, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to select this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge, and then press Control B to bevel, and that'll just kind of add an extra edge, and then that'll leave our faces selected, so I can just press X and delete faces. Now we've got some nice little panels here. You may want to make them kind of go like that direction or something, but you know, I think for what I'm doing, that's going to look fine. And it would be nice to have a little bit of a gap though. So maybe let's, this is one cool thing you can do in Blender 2.8. You can select multiple objects here. So let's select everything except that and that. And then let's go into edit mode. And then we can select everything, all those objects at once. And just drag this out. Just trying to get myself a nice little gap right there. So unless you looked straight on, you wouldn't really see that, but it's going to be, it'll kind of create a little bit of a shadow there. It'll look a little bit more realistic. Okay, I like that. Now we just need to cover up these, you know, kind of bottom steps so we don't screw up our effect. So I'm just going to go into this same object right here, honestly, and just select this edge, Shift D to duplicate it, grab up, and then EY to go over. And I need to turn on clipping here so that those don't cross each other. Right there should be good. And then let's just select this face and kind of bring it. Yeah, we want it to be just barely even so people wouldn't trip on that, our imaginary people. Cool. So let's just move this out. I guess, you know, technically the floor would be like, let's extrude again. Maybe extrude this out right here. Yeah, just kind of making a little bit of a floor action going on there. I think that looks good. Maybe move this up a little bit, give ourselves plenty of space to drop this in whatever model we're doing. And yeah, I think that's about it. Let's maybe we select these same faces. Shift D, R, Z. Oh God, no. Let's do SX -1. I want to pop this guy at the top. And then let's move this up here. Saving ourselves just a very little bit of work there. Not having to duplicate that plane object. And that's looking good. You know, if you wanted to reveal some more of those steps, maybe we'll bring this back a little bit. Something like that. Can you go all the way? No, probably right here is good. So we can't see it. So now with this whole thing together, I think we have ourselves an escalator. So if you're still interested, you don't want to leave me yet. Ooh, maybe we can add a bevel modifier here. Give that just a nice little bit of a round. Cool, I like that. Let's do some lighting. Just a little bit of a scene. Let's save again. And this is how if I can get these darn windows to drag over. So this is how I usually like to set my viewport up when I'm doing this. Let's make, let's do that. Let's make this a rendered view down here. Okay, rendered view. I think we're in Eevee. No, we're in cycles. Okay. Are we? Oh no, we're not in rendered. Now we're in rendered. Okay, so let's just press Shift C. Let's add a plane. GZ. Scale it up a little bit. Something like that. And let's kind of move it up so it's at the floor. Also, we can turn off all these overlays and get rid of this. So we've already got a little bit of a lamp there. And maybe we make this a little bit brighter, a little bit bigger. Bigger. Use nodes. Maybe we'll make it like a 2000 power. Cool. And then maybe we turn this into like a little bit of a backdrop. Move this up. Select these edges. Bevel them. And of course this escalator needs to be going somewhere, so maybe we just add we'll call the cube our second floor. Maybe we need to just select this bottom face here. Make that go down to the floor. Select this face, let's kind of drag that out. Nice, nice. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Okay. Maybe we get some cool colors too. Let's go, let's make this a shader editor. And maybe the floor, let's call this material floor. So maybe that's nice and white. I think we probably need to add like let's maybe add a sun lamp or something. Or maybe let's just add a huge area lamp. Sometimes I like that. I like the way that looks. Let's bring this up. And then this is another cool 2.8 thing. So you can just, oh, maybe that's not working. Oh, there it is. Uh-oh. We got some type of 2.8 error going on. Let's save. And let's close. And then let's open this back up. Okay, we fixed our little error. All right, so let's go back and render view over here. And then maybe make this like 6,000. Pretty bright. Maybe even more than that. Let's do like 20,000. Nice. Obviously, this is all personal taste, but let's select the background color. Maybe we make the background like a kind of like a blue. Something like that would be cool. Make it kind of rough. Maybe we make the floor the same, or sorry, the second floor the same color. This, might as well do like a little bit of a metal material. Let's name this one metal. Drag the metallic up. Just kind of seeing how this is gonna look. Not too shabby. And so that we can kind of see what we're doing, let's go into our viewport display over here. Change that to so we know it's metal. Let's make that like a light blue. Maybe kind of make it darker a little bit. Something like that. And maybe this needs to come up so we don't have such a weird gap. Nice. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And then this probably must need to come down. Yeah. That's looking a little better. Now this handrail, probably like a black material. I'm not going to bother naming it. Don't tell anyone. You should always name your materials. It's actually usually pretty shiny, isn't it? Let's like leave it at something like that. Cool, cool. Let's make the steps. I actually kind of like them white. Let's leave it like that just for a second. And then let's make a glass material. We'll go ahead and name it. Let's turn this roughness down. Let's turn the transmission all the way up. Oh yeah, that's looking cool. Now if we were to bring this value down, it'd kind of give you like a tinted glass. A little bit of that is kind of all right. And you know, I'm really not loving the metal look here. Let's just make this all crazy cool colors. Maybe like a bright beige. Absolutely stunning, isn't it? And then maybe this material is like a I don't know. So if the other one's beige, maybe this one should be like a ooh, a lighter blue. That looks kind of nice. Gosh, our little floor is screwing us up over here, isn't it? Let's move that just. Make sure the animation doesn't clip that. Oh, it's getting it just a little bit. Nifty. Okay, guys. That's about it. You know, take your camera, shift tilde, do a little flying around. I can tell I made this object way too big. It's kind of cutting off over there. But that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. Ended up taking a little longer than I thought it would, but didn't want to leave you hanging in case you were wondering how I made the cool escalator you're about to see in my next animation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Oh yeah, subscribe and like and stuff and leave comments and stuff like that. Let me know if you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.